Imagine a tradition so deeply woven into the fabric of a people's identity that it continues to shape the fate of women long after the loss of a husband. Picture a world where the death of a spouse is not just personal grief, but a journey through customs that can dictate whether a woman finds comfort or faces exclusion. In some Igbo communities, more than 60% of widows still experience practices that isolate them, strip them of inheritance, or burden them with ritual obligations. But what lies beneath these practices? Are they simply oppressive relics of the past, or do they carry deeper meanings rooted in history, symbolism, and the communal life of the Igbo people? This is the enduring story of Igbo widowhood rites, a story of resilience, sorrow, cultural pride, and a tradition now standing at the crossroads of change. The Igbo are one of Africa's most vibrant and populous ethnic groups, living mainly in southeastern Nigeria, with a culture that has long placed community at its heart. In Igbo thought, the individual is never truly separate from the collective. To be Igbo is to belong to a network of family, lineage, village, and clan. Death, therefore, is not seen as a private matter alone, but a communal passage, a disruption that calls for rituals to restore balance, honor the dead, and safeguard the living. Widowhood, within this context, is more than personal loss. It is a test of tradition, a moment when communal expectations weigh heavily on the shoulders of one woman. The roots of these rites stretch back centuries, when Igbo society was organized around kinship, land, and ancestral reverence. In a world without formal courts or state institutions, customs served as laws and traditions as protection. Widowhood rites developed not only to honor the dead husband but also to secure the place of the widow and her children within the community. Certain practices functioned as safeguards, ensuring that property remained within the lineage, that a widow was not cast adrift, and that accusations of foul play in a husband's death were ritually cleansed. What may appear harsh today often carried, in its origins, a protective intent, one designed to hold families together and maintain social order. The ceremonies themselves are layered with symbolism. A widow may be required to cut her hair, wash in symbolic rivers, or dress in mourning cloths for a period of time. Each gesture carries meaning: the shaving of hair as a sign of detachment from her former life, the wearing of black or white to mark liminality between death and renewal, ritual bathing as a cleansing of grief and suspicion. In some communities, she may be confined for weeks, shielded from the public eye, symbolizing her separation from ordinary life until she is ritually reintegrated. These rites, at their best, offer structure to grief, allowing mourning to unfold with dignity and recognition. They also signal to the community that a transition has occurred, inviting collective support for the widow as she begins life anew. Yet, as with many traditions, there are stark contradictions. While some practices provide healing, others can become instruments of control. Misinterpretations, abuses, or rigid applications of custom can result in real harm. Stories abound of widows disinherited, accused of killing their husbands, or forced into degrading rituals under the weight of family pressure. The fine line between symbolic meaning and human suffering is one that communities must constantly navigate. Modernity has brought these tensions to the surface. With the spread of education, urbanization, and global conversations on human rights, the spotlight now shines on widowhood rites as never before. Younger generations, especially women, are asking, must grief come with humiliation? Must tradition require isolation or dispossession? Civil society groups, religious leaders, and advocacy organizations have stepped into this space, urging reforms that preserve cultural dignity while eliminating practices that demean or endanger widows. In some regions, Christian influence has led to the softening or outright abandonment of certain rituals, replacing them with church-led mourning practices. In others, NGOs work with local elders to reinterpret the rites in ways that uphold symbolism without harm. But tradition resists simple erasure. For many elders, these rites are not just customs but sacred obligations to ancestors and the community. To discard them outright feels like breaking a chain that connects generations past to generations yet to come. The challenge, then, is balance. How can communities honor heritage while affirming the humanity of widows? This balance is being negotiated every day across Igbo land. Some families adapt the mourning period to shorter durations, others allow widows to choose what they will observe. In progressive households, women inherit alongside men, breaking long-held taboos while keeping symbolic rituals intact. The voices of widows themselves are central to this dialogue. Their testimonies tell of pain but also of strength. Many describe the deep loneliness of isolation, but also the resilience that grows from enduring. Some recall being forced to sit on bare floors for weeks, while others remember neighbors quietly bringing food and comfort in defiance of rigid rules. Their stories are not just about suffering but about survival, adaptation, and in many cases, leadership. Widows' associations have sprung up in towns and cities, offering solidarity, financial support, and a platform for advocacy. Through them, widows reclaim agency, turning private grief into a public force for change. To understand Igbo widowhood rites, therefore, is to enter a world of paradox, a world where tradition heals and harms, where heritage binds and sometimes oppresses, where rituals comfort the soul yet can scar the body. It is a world that cannot be judged in simple terms but must be approached with curiosity, empathy, and context. And sir, as we look toward the future, the question is not whether Igbo widowhood rites will vanish, but how they will evolve. Culture is not static. It bends, it adapts, it redefines itself in response to the pressures of time. What endures is the spirit, the conviction that grief is not born alone, that death must be honored, that community must rally around those in mourning. The task ahead is to ensure that this spirit uplifts rather than diminishes, that widows emerge not broken but supported, not dispossessed but empowered. Generations. It is in the recognition that tradition and progress are not enemies but partners in shaping a more humane future. As you reflect on this journey through an ancient yet evolving practice, remember this: every culture carries stories that both wound and heal. To engage with them honestly is to honor their complexity. To critique them with compassion is to respect their humanity. And to imagine their evolution is to participate in the resilience of heritage. Widowhood rites among the Igbo are not merely relics of the past. They are living traditions, contested, reshaped, and redefined. The story of Igbo widows is ultimately one of endurance, of women who, in the face of loss, isolation, or injustice, embody strength, adapt to change, and claim their place in the narrative of their people. It is also the story of a culture grappling with its identity in a world that demands both continuity and reform. Between mourning and memory, between ritual and rites, lies the enduring spirit of a people. And in that spirit, we see not only the pain of the past but the promise of a future where heritage and humanity walk hand in hand.